Ladies and gentlemen, I think we have something beautiful in our hands. I think this project, ये जो रामायण का जो project आ रहा है, and you'll see this right as soon as the episode starts rolling. I've seen some footage of it. I've seen some visual assets that even you've not seen. I met the guy who's making it. I've met Namit. I've understood the profile of the guy who's making it. And as Indians, आप और मैं इस project की density और depth को बहुत बखूबी समझते हैं. हमें पता है हमारी इमोशनल एसोसिएशन विद रामायण क्या है, हमारी हिस्ट्री है, हमारा चाइल्डहुड है, हमारी वैल्यू सिस्टम, हमारी फिलॉसफी, हमारी डिविनिटी, हमारा रिलीजन. इट्स ऑल द स्टोरी ऑफ इंडिया इज इंट्रिकेटली टाइड विद द स्टोरी ऑफ राम. एंड दिस प्रोजेक्ट बीइंग टेकन ऑन एट दिस स्केल is frankly interesting. But I think what is much more interesting is the guy who's taking on this project. When I started researching, when I was about to get into this podcast, I found that the man has won 8 Academy Awards, 8 Oscars for visual design. His company DNEG, which works with everybody from Christopher Nolan on all the movies you can imagine that Christopher Nolan's done in the recent past, to Denis Villeneuve on Dune, to I think a few Harry Potter films as well. Any visually beautiful film you've seen from Hollywood in the last 10 years, the visual effects were done by Namit and his team. So at least on the visual front, the right man is taking this job on. I think from a vision perspective, बहुत सारे Indians बहुत time से ये सोच रहे हैं कि you have Marvel Cinematic Universe which is made up whatever stories. We have such a deep corpus of stories as part of our culture जिसका कोई visual representation है ही नहीं. और विजुअल रिप्रेजेंटेशन के बाद भी बात यह है ना कि आप रामानंद सागर की रामायण, उसके बाद जो वो जापानीज इलस्ट्रेटेड रामायण है, उसमें ही 20-30 साल का डिफरेंस है. अब वो 20-30 साल बाद एक और साइकिल आ गई है क्योंकि अगली जनरेशन एक अलग तरीके से उसे विजुअली कंज्यूम करना चाहती है. And so I think where we are is we are at the start of a phenomenal, possibly at the start of a phenomenal cinematic journey. At least I am hoping that. I know a lot of other people who've seen the teaser up until, who've seen some of the assets, who've gotten a visual and auditory glimpse of this project are very excited. This is one of those projects that we all want for to succeed. And the man behind this is very interesting. His vision, his relationship with the money he's spending in doing this, his relationship with the story is very interesting. As a podcaster, when I walk into a conversation, I have certain expectations कि ऐसा होगा, वैसा होगा. And generally those expectations are never met. That's just the nature of the job. But this one surprised me in the most positive way. And you've got to listen to the man who's decided to take on a generational project with a story that all you and I love. This is the story of Namit Malhotra and his advent into creating Ramayana. This is the Prakhar Gupta experience. Thank you for watching the exclusive conversation I had with Namit. Oh, sorry, I forgot to tell you, when this video starts, I'm watching something, you cannot see it. You have to wait for it. I'm watching it, you cannot see it. But watch closely how I respond to it. I'm listening to some bits of the soundtrack that A.R. Rahman and Hans Zimmer have produced, and I'm watching some of the shots from the movie and how they've been shot and how they've been choreographed. And bro, watch my reaction. Bye. Man, the soundtrack. Wow. Wow.
This reaction,
God.
I should have captured your reaction for
No,
our...
it's on camera. No, is it rolling? Yeah. Please get it rolling. And bro, what a soundtrack. Like, this is exactly what you would hope if you put together somebody like Rahman and Zimmer. Wow. Amazing. Amazing. Congratulations. And when we started having this conversation about talking, I started reading up on you. And I was like, I cannot think of a single better profile to do this project. Tell me about your vision. Like, my understanding is that this is probably the biggest film ever made, hands down, full stop. I saw the cast, and feel free to talk about some of that. I saw the creative collaborations you're putting together for this. I saw the scale of your vision, and I don't think that is something people will see. I got a private access to that. Tell me about your vision. What are you trying to do?
So it's a slightly longer story. I'll tell you how all of this comes together. So I'll probably go back to my growing up days when I was 18. And I grew up as this aspirational kid who wanted to be a filmmaker, wanted to be a director. And just around 1993, when Jurassic Park came, that Steven Spielberg made, I was like taken aback for the first time. I was like, yeah, it's not how they did it. It's look at what they've imagined. That you can have these dinosaurs running around in this park. And there's a whole story that plays out. How did they even think of that? Because we in our country never created or told stories like that. So for me, that was a very, one of my first renditions of being smitten by this world thinking that what do these worlds look like? How do they make it happen? And so believable. And then fast forward, did not become a director, started out as a little garage startup with one computer, Apple computer, and 3 guys who taught me computer graphics. They were my teachers. So I hired them, Merzen, Prakash, and Huzefa, with me till today, 30 years later. We're today the world's largest visual effects and animation company on the planet with over 10,000 people.
And is the same company in continuity from that garage?
Yeah, absolutely. So 30 years later, it's still Prime Focus. We acquired DNEG, which is a London boutique, in 2014. Took that from being a 700 people company to almost 8,000 people worldwide. So the transformation that we were able to achieve, we've had 7 Oscar wins in the last 10 years in us.
I think there is no movie in the last 10 years that I have not absolutely lost my mind over that you're not a part of. Right? Fair to say, what is this? Inception, Interstellar, Dune, all these great sci-fi movies where I'm imagining a reality that's not my own. You're all part of that.
Yeah.
Right?
No, those are exclusively almost our films.
Right.
So having done that, built it, grew up in India, aspiration to take our stories to the world. My joke always was that we knew how to make movies before we knew how to use computers. But our film industry never got recognition on the global stage. Maybe Mr. Satyajit Ray for film here and there was honored for an Oscar. Lagan and other big films that were really ahead of their time and did really great work never really shined on the international platform. So they always saw us as there's a big Bollywood or an Indian film industry. And it was not treated with the same amount of respect or appreciation that any other mature industry should be. It sort of existed for over 100 years. We've told our own stories, we've done it without any help from Hollywood or anybody like that. And that, as I was building the company up, even though we were a tech-enabled company, I got to the early 2000s and, as the Y2K phase happened and IT companies grew, I was like, why aren't they using us? We have the same technology, we have the same people. Why are they not using us? And that's where, in my little journey of being that 18-year-old to being, that kid who played cricket in school to the kid who played for his, state, school, country.
Right.
I was like, are we any good for the world?
Right.
So that became a sort of call it a challenge or an opportunity for me to, so for me it was like, am I any good for the world? Are we going to try it out?
Right.
So I got started, bought companies, walked into the West, moved my family in 2010 after the crisis of the 2008 US recession that happened, only to realize that, I sort of built the most successful company from India, bought their companies there, and I walk into America and hi, I'm Namit Malhotra from Prime Focus. And it's like, who is Namit Malhotra, who's Prime Focus? What have you done here? What have you done in America? What have you done in Hollywood? So it sort of almost hit a reset button on my rather successful journey till then to kind of start all over again. And as I did that, and I realized and learned a lot more about the intricacies of the West and Hollywood and the creative culture there and the UK and other parts of the world, what I realized was that, and having to fight that fight as an Indian person, in a part of the world, in Hollywood especially, where, to be fair, you could count the number of Indian people of any impact back in the day.
Sure.
So the journey is not easy, is to put it mildly.
Yeah. I follow what you're
And then you're
trying
kind
to
of
say.
dealing with culture and a process, and nothing you've done is good enough. And even though I've bought companies and I've employed people, it's like you're having to build your stature up one step at a time. And then when this big transformation happened, when we finally were able to deliver some really, stellar work on some of the big projects, that's when the sort of a shift happened where Hollywood recognized me and the work we were doing and said, hey, this is not a cheap alternative. This is a better alternative. Talk to him because he cares about what we do. He's going to deliver the highest quality. And while he does that, he's going to make sure we are efficient. So that journey took a while. And then I realized that being a services company is perfectly fine. That's what we live and do every day with. And then you had the pandemic and the actors and writers strike. And the second time around when I had the next sort of a reset button hit, because we were at our peak as a company.
2020.
Over 2020. Like I was the busiest company we've ever been with the best lineup of Hollywood films from James Bond to Dune to, Wonder
Oppenheimer and
Wonder Woman, all of that in 2020 itself. And the strike hits and suddenly industry shut down. I've got 11,000 employees. So I'm like, I can't survive. I got to make salaries every month. I can't sit here and look for the next project to happen. So I started calling clients and said, can we start producing together? Can we do something together? And I realized that that's where the opportunity came that we should do something slightly more entrepreneurial because that's who I am. And break the shackles of get outside that box and try something different. And Ramayan through that time and the content creation piece was just bubbling up. And I felt through that time and through that phase of all the things I did, I felt there has to be a point in time when we don't look like either the victims. All our stories are Slumdog Millionaire, Gandhi, Lion, even RRR, which I think is a great testament to Mr. Rajamouli's success of making a great film that really resonated with Hollywood for the first time. But until then, all the films they saw us as were victims and we were poor and always less fortunate and treated poorly by the world. And I was like, no, that's not who we are. That's not the country I come from. That's not the person I am. That's not where our core strength and energy comes from. So Ramayan became that story for me to say, how do I take it and present something? That's the evolution of the planet. That's the first civilization in the world. That's the greatest epic in the world. How do we take that and mount it and present it in such a way that not just every Indian in the world, but every person in the world should want to watch it? So that became like an obsession in my mind to say, how do I do that? And that sort of became a culmination or a convergence of everything I'd done in my 30 years is sort of coming together, and Ramayan has sort of become that life goal now to just make it happen in the best manner that's possible.
But it begs the question, and I want to get at some finer points about the project because I want to understand if you're doing what I just saw, what the world will see in a couple of days. The budget has to be off the roof, brother. Are you at liberty to talk about that?
Yeah, we're funding it ourselves. We're not taking anybody's money. So
how much money are you spending on this? What is the...
So when we set out to make it, and I'm talking about now, call it 6-7 years ago, just after the pandemic, when we started to really get serious about mounting it and producing it. And budget-wise, it was like everybody thought I'm a lunatic because no Indian film by a long distance comes close to it. So to put it simply, it'll be about $500 million by the time we're done on both films put together, part 1 and part 2, which is over 4,000 crores.
Wow. And that's incredible scale.
So it's I say it like this. I said we are making the largest film in the world for the greatest story, the greatest epic that the world should see, and I still think it's cheaper than it costs to make some of the biggest Hollywood films. So I think we're making a bigger film at a lower cost because that Indian in me still believes that we're not being irresponsible financially.
You can't be irresponsible with money, yaar. Come on.
So as irresponsible the whole industry may think I am.
Right.
Because it's like, okay, this doesn't make any sense in terms of how do you make that happen. But for me, it is like, it's not a money-driven thing. Honestly, what I just gave you the whole glimpse of my journey. The point was that we've been through so many ups and downs, and we're standing strong 30 years later. Those risks and those challenges were much more, let's say...
Existential.
Much more existential. They were I was much less qualified. I did not know walking into America and the 2008 crisis happens. I don't even know what happened. I stepped into America and the crisis happened. We were at our peak and the pandemic happened. We came out of the pandemic stronger and then the writer's strike happened. So I'm like, okay, these are things I don't control. But we still have to deal with the consequences of that. So I said, here, what am I doing? I'm taking the greatest belief system of our country. We're taking something that we have pride in. It's a foundational piece of our culture. And I'm going to mount it and present it in the grandest form possible. And it's going to cost whatever it costs. Why is that a risk? When I think about Ramayana, I'm like, is it really a risk? All I'm doing is I have to just make sure we do justice to people's expectations and beyond. There has to be pride that must come through in every Indian first, and then every other person in the world to say, that's a great piece of culture. That I genuinely think the relevance of Ramayana today in the world, not just India, is massive. Look at the wars in the West. Look at the way the countries are operating. I've lived in America. I've lived in the UK. I've hesitated to send my kids abroad to study. My kids are growing up in Mumbai today. They're going to Indian schools. I want them to study in India not because I don't believe in the Western education system, but because I genuinely have greater faith and confidence in India today. And I'm making those decisions and I'm making that commitment. So I'm like, there's something we're doing right. The West has sort of lost its way a little bit.
Sure.
And nothing like our culture to really help give that grounding and anchor. We're not trying to we're not providing sermons to the world. But what we're saying is, hey, we've learned a lot from you. Yeah. Take something from us.
Right. With all the good things that are probably going for this project, you also, I'm sure, privately are contending with the fact that it's a very sensitive issue for Indians.
Sure.
Right? Like, if anything, New India, the India on the internet and otherwise, does not want triviality to be associated with its history, its culture, its stories, right? Do you find that to be at least, like, how are you navigating with that? How are you dealing with that?
See, honestly, it's not New India, old India. I think my mother at home is an incredible Ram Bhakt. So I'm more scared about
Mummy, Daddy
what's my mom going to say. See, it's not even, what has happened is, it happened to be, this is not preordained or pre-planned. I have twin boys. The names are Raghav and Ragveer. Although my older son's name is Ayrton, after the Formula 1 driver Ayrton Senna. So I have Raghav and Ragveer, who are different names of Ram. I never thought that I would make the Ramayana. My mother, she has a stronger opinion on Ramayana than she's ever had in my career or in the films that my father made or anything that we ever did, because it's the Ramayana. So that grounding and that perspective is very, very strong. I've seen my parents in an interesting argument where let's say we're casting and somebody says something, my father says, he's from the industry, he knows the movie business, he knows a lot more than my mother does. And he'll say, yeah, I think that's a good person, I think that's a good thing, it'll be good for the business, it's a good person to bring on. And she'll say, no, not for Ramayana. So you understand that there's a perspective there, which is saying, listen, don't tell me about the movie. You're making the Ramayana. Do not talk about it as a movie. That itself is undermining the purity or the essence of our culture, of our story. So that pressure and that responsibility. So today it's not about what will my mother tell me. It's like, will she be proud? Will my family be proud that we have put or taken on the mantle of telling the story or the journey of the Ramayana, which is our greatest piece of our culture and history, in a way that everybody feels proud. Now that is it's the most exciting thing I can do in my life, in the medium and in the business I'm in.
Oh, I believe you, yeah.
On the other hand, is it daunting and is it scary? Yeah, but without that, what's the fun? Why do you want to climb Mount Everest? Because it's the easiest place to go for a walk. You want to, everybody is saying, if you're a hiker, you're like, I want to climb Mount Everest. Why? Because it's the hardest one to crack.
Right.
Ramayana on that end is not the hardest, it's the greatest. So you want to make sure that you do it with reverence and respect.
Right.
And the world and all the people that I talk to in the West, the company that I own, DNEG, that's got all these Oscars, Ramayana is the hardest project, visual effects wise, we're doing in the world we've ever done.
And what others have you done, just for context for the audience? I know.
So we've done the Dune 1 and 2 that we've got Oscars for, all of Christopher Nolan's films from Batman Begins to Oppenheimer, Tenet, Interstellar, Dunkirk, you name it.
Right.
You know, those are all our films. The big Fast and the Furious movies, Lord of the Rings for TV, season 1 and 2, the Harry Potter movies back in the day. Even now on Superman, we've done the 3D. On Jurassic World, we've done the 3D. So we're part and parcel of that ecosystem on a daily, monthly, weekly basis. So I'm sitting here and telling you that Ramayana is the hardest project we will do or we are doing.
In that quality of work.
At that scale.
That's what I'm talking about.
And that is why I'm even more excited. Because I'm now revving up all my teams in the West. And they are now revving up to Ramayana.
Wow.
You know, I wish I could bring you to meet them. They speak the people in Ramayana, and you have to hear their English accents and Western accents using the Indian names, and and they talk about the scenes, and it's fantastic because you really see a culmination of a debate. Like one of my visual effects supervisors yesterday, in a scene where Lord Ram goes into battle, he says, "But I would have thought this is how it should be," and he was explaining to me and to Nitesh how he felt it should be different, and we're like, "No, I understand what you're saying, but we got to go with this." But they're all now in it.
Right.
They're all in it. That is the excitement. Like, it's now not just a bunch of Indian people trying to do something and pushing against the tide, which we always do. But this is when we're actually bringing that excitement that I can see now. The people who are designing the art. The action director, Guy Norris, sent me a clip from the set yesterday saying, this is the last action piece, the action shot of the film. Because we just wrapped filming part 1 yesterday.
So you're done filming it?
Part 1 we finished.
One, yeah.
Part 1, part 2 we will do. So, the action team, the guys who've done films like Furiosa and Mad Max and Suicide Squad and massive Hollywood productions, the whole action team has been in Mumbai working with our artists and with our teams. So you see that and them referring to the Indian names and Indian characters. They've never done this before.
Right.
And they're like, man, I love the story. I want to come back. I want to do the next part. So you get that from the best people in the world. You're getting that excitement. That is infectious even beyond. Because now, before I don't even have to sell it.
Yeah.
I don't have to tell you why it is, what it is. You have to understand there's 1.5 billion people in India who are very sensitive about it.
Right.
Now it's turning from sensitivity to pride.
Right.
Which is what we want it to be. We are sensitive because we've not been respected. See, that's how I approach it. That why any other young India? Why not me? Let somebody in the world try and insult my culture and my country and my belief system. I'm not going to be calm about that.
I'm going to give it back in their language.
So why would I expect anybody in India to sit back and say, yeah, it's okay. Chalta hai. Nahi, sir. Abhi nahi chalta hai. Hindustan ka time aa gaya hai abhi. Chalta hai nahi hai. That doesn't work. That is the whole point. We're as good as anyone. We're not trying to beat everybody down. That's not who we are. We don't come from that mindset. But please don't think we're less than you. That conversation is over.
Brilliant. Dude, I'm loving the passion you're bringing to this. I don't know if this is public information, so I want to ask very carefully because I want to arrive at something. Do you want to talk about the cast you're bringing together for this? Are you at liberty to say that?
So in 2 days, it will be in the public domain.
Okay.
So we can talk about it.
So Shri Ram is... Ranbir Kapoor is playing Shri Ram, right?
Yes.
And Sai Pallavi is playing Ma Sita. And then Sunny Deol is playing Hanumanji,
yes.
right? So that is proper. I also found out, I saw it, that you're putting together A.R. Rahman and Hans Zimmer for the sound design. That's a very under-discussed aspect I don't want to miss on. Boss, I heard the sound like, oh my God. Like this in a theater is why theaters were invented. The way it hits you, because there is that sort of added level of pride. It's my history and I'm watching it. Oh my God. I think it's going to steal the show. Beyond all the visual stuff also, the sound is so powerful.
So, this is, when they say what dreams are made of.
Right.
This is my dream moment. Because I grew up obsessing on A.R. Rahman's music as an Indian all that time. And then I moved to Hollywood in early 2010. Inception comes out. Dark Knight came before that. And I discover Hans Zimmer. And the last 10-15 years of my life, if I show you my playlist, it's got the best of A.R. Rahman, it's got the best of Hans Zimmer. And I've been listening to that obsessively. So I actually, oddly enough, I take these India-LA flights, which are 24 hours. And as much as I shouldn't say it, I'm not a big movie watcher. I don't watch a lot of movies.
Okay, irony. Okay.
So, but I love music. So I obsessively listen to music. Like I can be listening to music for 12 hours at a stretch. Because I'm in my thoughts, I'm imagining, I'm trying to think about what we have to do. And the music and the energy from there really gets me going in a lot of ways to sort of think about it. And these two fine gentlemen have been my absolute best. Like, I remember taking a photograph with Hans Zimmer and A.R. Rahman separately as a fanboy moment when I was not even making the Ramayana. Just to know these guys, I was like, man, I have consumed your music. I obsess about it. And then the opportunity for Ramayana comes and I'm like, okay, if that's the vision and that's the world 5,000 years ago, this is not a time, this is not a film where you've got guns firing and tires screeching and planes flying. So we're telling you a story and a time. I want the sound to be the symphony of what that world would have been.
Right.
The Ravan's perspective, the Ram's theme, the love of Sita, all the various the devotion of Hanumanji. Like you think about all the different characters in the worlds, and then you've got to create something from a sound perspective that to me is like, okay, it doesn't exist. So I said to these guys and I said, listen, I don't have a reference. There is no reference to give you. This is brand new. And this is the best you've ever done before. And it's a big statement to tell some of these maestros that you actually look up to. Because I'm like, okay, I'm going to want something that you've never done before. Because that's what this needs. Ramayana came before everything.
Right. Yeah, there is no reference.
So I want that to be original. I want it to be pure. I want it to be very timeless. And you guys are the best in the world. And touch wood, that collaboration so far, I always joke, I said, Lord Ram is making it happen. Like, it's not me. I've just become the medium. You cannot get these guys together.
Why?
Everybody's in their own world.
Right.
What project will it... You need a project to bring them together. No?
Sure, right. I see what you mean.
Again, it's not money.
Yeah, right. It has to be the love for the project.
These are not people who you can say, I'll pay you so much, please do it.
Right.
That's not how they operate.
Right.
They turn away more work than they accept.
Yes.
So for them, the inspiration has to be like, why am I doing this? Is this worth my time? Is this worth the world? And I'll tell you this interesting comment that I had from Hans, which has stuck with me. So I met him for the first time on Ramayana. I was trying to give him, I was showing him some of the art and what we're trying to do and what the story is and whatever. And he did a little bit of research, and he's a very interesting person. At some point, you should interview him. He's a great person to speak to. And he says to me, you don't have to explain to me. So I'm like, what does that mean? He says, something that's lived through thousands of years, generations of people, and continues to be relevant after all of that time. You and I don't need to explain it. There's something there is why it is relevant even today. Let's acknowledge it and let's do the best we can. Because it's clearly something that's beyond us.
Right.
So I was like, that is so beautifully put by someone who does not know anything about the Ramayana, but he's so, giving that reverence to saying, listen, just the fact that it's existed and continues to be relevant and people feel emotional about it and passionately about it, that's it. I need not know more.
There is a cultural value to timelessness that cuts across human boundaries. Any story that survives 4, 5 to 1,000 years, and that story passed down orally or textually, generation from generation, somehow inserts its structure into our DNA. And so I have almost never found in my very tiny experience that I've told the story of, say, the Mahabharata, or I've told the story of Hanumanji carrying the mountain back, right? And it has not gotten people wide-eyed, no matter what culture they're from. There is something that is magical about timeless stories. And yeah, that sounds very interesting. I wonder what it's like to have both those fellows in a room together. Like, what is the temperature of that room? Are we talking electricity at that point? Like, what is happening?
No, the interesting thing is because they both have such humility and so much respect for each other's craft that it's actually very cool. It's actually very, very benign. Like, it's not what one would expect. Because I've sometimes sort of sat there and witnessed the two of them together, and I'm like, because there's so much mutual respect and so much admiration for each other's work.
Wow.
That as artists, it's actually something to learn from. You know, we were putting their names on the title, music by and Hans Zimmer, and there's a conversation that erupts that Hans says, "No, AR's name should be on the left. I'll be on the right." And AR says, "Sir, you're part of our culture. You're our guest. We've invited you into this. So our culture says you come first, I'll come second."
That's the Indianness I'm talking about.
That, I was like, wow. You know, in the world where everybody fights, even that size of font, if it's slightly small, people are like, make it bigger, do this, change that. You know, why is my name coming first or second? These are two fine gentlemen who are actually saying to each other, and that's the beauty about why they are who they are. Because they are interested in the creation. It's what they're going to create, not in that, because they know their glory nobody can take.
Yeah. They're legends.
You can say anything you want. You can't take away what their creation is. That's their superpower. That's who they are.
Right. I have a slightly, I don't know if it's a controversial question, and I almost never ask this when I'm sitting with cinema people because I'm too worried it's going to cross a line. But frankly, why do you think are Indian films like never truly winning any Academy Awards, or like what's up with Indian films when you compare them to Hollywood films? Like, is there a difference really, or is it just that they don't care to look at us, or what is up?
See, I think over the years, what's happened is that the good part about our films is that we not just made films for the country, we made films for each state. So we have a very vibrant film production ecosystem that actually almost tells stories about each state, each culture, each language in its own, and has tremendous success doing so. So what has happened is that the business never really, or the industry never thought about it as, how do we take this and show it, forget the world, even across India. Of late, there are a few films that you can say are now traveling or are being called pan-India. Otherwise, if you think about it, before we even go to the West, we're a little bit like Europe. You know, it's like the German films play in Germany and the French films play in France. It's been that way for the last 100 years. There's Tamil films, Telugu films, Hindi films, Malayalam films, Punjabi films. Each state has made their own films and been very happy with the way it's played out. Each state has its own superstars, great directors, storytellers. And now that the world and the aspiration starts to become that, okay, I'm going to make something that I want not just people of a state to watch, but the whole country to watch, and then I'm going to get people in the country to watch. I want the world to watch, is the progression that is happening now, I think. And access to technology, access to a different way of presenting films, all of that took much longer in our evolution than if you think about what happened in Hollywood or in the West. You know, my favorite example of the two industries is that Sholay, the Indian, timeless classic, came in 1975, and Star Wars came in 1977. And after Sholay, we went down a certain path of a certain type of films, and they just turned Star Wars into their formula and made all types of different types of sci-fi and creatures, and so they just used that as a formula and just went into a whole direction. Whereas we kind of didn't. We kind of stayed on that track of family dramas, 360-degree entertainers and turn into, the rom-coms and whatever. So our industry sort of, you're always servicing your audience, but even the audiences are saying in the same way back to the filmmakers that give us something different. And when you see some international big films come to India and gain a lot of success and gain a lot of interest, that's when you sort of filmmakers feel like, hey, maybe our own audiences want something else. So a lot of our production, financing, distribution has been existing in the world of servicing our own core market, because we've had enough people in our own country to showcase our films to. In fact, even now, like I said, the numbers will show you that most Hindi films don't work in the South and vice versa. So we don't even have,
The
we
all of the
have 1.5
country.
billion people. Where is our box office that shows anything like that? There's a Chinese film called Niza that just came recently. It grossed $2 billion in China.
So it served China, pan-China.
Only China.
Right.
So India still does not have that, because we've got fragmentation in each state. And that has sort of been one of the reasons why that alignment on what is truly Indian and what is truly global has not been answered. My hope is Ramayana becomes that. Because I genuinely am trying to make sure that Ramayana is whose story? It belongs to every Indian in the country. I don't think there's a corner of this country where you go to and say, who does Ramayana belong to? What is Ramayana? Everybody knows what it is. So for the first time, I think we've got, not in the characters or in the actors, it's actually in the concept itself. That
The spirit of the story.
Ramayana itself is firstly for every Indian in India. And then from there you take it to everybody in the world.
I briefly studied film at Columbia, and it's a very interesting film department because you study, at least at the level I was, only on paper. Like, you don't hold a camera. It's a very theoretical study of this, right? And I took a couple of classes in global cinema, hoping that I would encounter something I've already seen, because it was just so obvious. We make 1,000 movies a year or something of that nature, and honestly, there's no shortage of great movies. Like, I've come to really enjoy some of the cinema I watched growing up. And so I thought I'd find something. But in both those classes, I saw Austrian, Iranian, Chinese, Taiwanese, South Korean. I saw Egyptian. I saw some LATAM cinema. Like, I saw a wide variety of it, but I never really saw anything from India. And that planted a question. I was like, it can't really be, because you see the quality also. I'll give you that Iranian cinema it speaks in a very different cadence and language, and so, okay, I can see the difference from general Hollywood, Bollywood type movies. But as far as the technicals of a movie go, as far as the storytelling and the entertainment value of a movie go, and sometimes even the emotional value goes, my sense is it's not like we're qualitatively ages behind.
No, that's not the case. I think where that part of your point, my understanding the way it works is, see, Hollywood and the West divided every genre into a certain format. So they think we only make musicals.
I see what you mean.
Because of song and dance, they're like, oh, you have a murder mystery, but suddenly you break into song and dance.
Which is a fair
You
question to ask.
have a drama and suddenly you're like singing songs in the middle of a scene. Like, that's a format of storytelling, which again is unique to us,
Right.
that we all love, we all enjoy. People in the theaters can get up and start dancing at times. They get excited by that. And in the West or in other parts of the world, they're like, okay, how did that just happen? These two were just in an argument and suddenly they break out and they go for a song. And, it just, everything leads into a sort of song and a format of storytelling.
Right.
So that's something that is confusing their sensibility. It's not saying it's right or wrong. It's not good or bad. It's just different. And then if you don't understand the song, if you don't understand the language of the song, you can be taken out of the movie very quickly. See, because what happens if you watch character-based stories and you just remove the songs, you will be watching something and the grammar of the storytelling, the grammar of the conversation will be, even if you don't understand the words, through expression and performance, you will be able to understand, okay, this is a happy moment, this is a sad moment, this is a serious moment, this is action, whatever. The moment you have songs, like if we're watching, let's say if I don't know how to speak, different language, and if I'm watching a Hindi film and suddenly you play an Oriya song, unless I love the beat of the song, it's not natural for me to love that particular song because I do not even know what it means at all. And all I'm seeing is a dance routine.
No, I get exactly
But if
what
you're
you mean.
watching just a film, if I'm watching an Oriya film,
You're hooked.
it doesn't matter as long as it's an engaging story and I'm following the journey of the character. Language now is nice to have, it's not a need to have.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, I think a lot of people can relate. We just would forward. Once we could forward. Back in the day when we could not, we'd change channels when the music would come because it's a somewhat of an interruption.
But that's not the way you study film.
Huh.
If you're in a film school, and you have to forward something and watch.
Yeah. That's not how.
You're already like in some ways you're disrespecting
The syllabus.
the syllabus. The subject has been given to you and you just skip through 3 pages and said, let me just ignore these 3 pages. Which is the problem, which is not what. Whereas if you think about Raj Kapoor's time, when his songs got popular, you'll meet a lot of people in Israel and in Russia and other places. When you say Mera Juta Hai Japani, they'll be like, oh, we know that song.
Right. No, I've actually met some people like that. Yeah.
So because when they connect with the music, then they don't find it offensive. Then they're actually connecting with it. Then they like what they're hearing.
I think it was shot at a Russian circus, no? In a Moscow circus. I think Mera Juta Hai Japani. I think there's something to that.
My film trivia is not great, but I'm saying that may very well be. But the point is, it sort of lingered on. Like his music got popular. Raj Kapoor became popular for his songs.
Interesting. I see what you mean.
So that I'm saying. So then his cinema became a little bit more palatable for those markets because they're like, yeah, we get it. We're not annoyed by it. We're not confused by it. We actually enjoy it. Like today, if a Natu Natu does well, all of America loves it because now that they've caught on to it, now it's not disturbing them. See, it's about being relevant. Imagine if you're watching an English film and they break into a rock song in the middle. A lot of people in India will be like, what just happened here?
Right.
Because even though it may be a great song, but if you don't like rock music, you're like, okay, I was just following the story and now they just broke into unless you go for a musical. See, that's what I'm saying. That for them,
Right.
They're saying, they're not clear about our format.
Got it.
That format is a big issue. And our Indian filmmakers, rightly so, have believed that that's our format. We like it. Our people like it. Our audiences love it. So why should we change it?
Interesting.
But then the question is, but how do you try and convince the audiences over there to love what your audience is like?
Right.
It's
I get it.
It's not right or wrong. It is just what it is. It's easier for an Indian to understand Spider-Man than it is for, let's say, a Westerner to understand an Indian romantic musical.
Got it. So it's really like the format issue is actually that big a blocker, huh?
I genuinely believe that. That's why our kids are watching anime, we are watching Korean, we are watching Mexico crime, and we're saying, yeah, language is fine, who cares?
Right.
Because it's got subtitles, I can understand what is happening.
Right.
But it's not taking you out of the story. I'm following the thread. I know what that character is going to do next. I want to know what's going to happen next. But if the next moment he breaks into a song and they go to Switzerland and then they come back,
Yeah, I see.
like, okay, what just happened here? See, if you're not following the train of thought,
Right.
what is that all about?
Interesting. Yeah, because you've got to wonder, like, what would it take for an Indian film to win an Oscar? Like, 1,000 films a year. At least 10% of them are very good movies. At least 10 of them are exceptional movies. And it, to an untrained eye, to somebody who's not part of the business or part of the industry, we're just left wondering. It could be this or it could be that. We are never quite sure. And it's a very interesting hypothesis.
But that is the thing that I genuinely feel that where I feel Indian filmmakers are, and that's the whole point of being in the, when you're making a movie, it's the vision of the director. It's about what story you want to tell.
Right.
And what format you want to use. There are Hollywood films that have won Oscars that are musicals.
Like La La Land, did it get one?
I think so.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So there are lots of, Chicago did very well back in the day. There are, Wizard of Oz, the Wicked.
Oh, right, sure.
Did really well at the Oscars recently. So it's not like they don't, but then for them it's a musical. That you're telling the story of the movie through the music. See, even in their mind, If it's a musical, it's not a moment. It's actually telling the story with the singing and dancing, because you're actually performing the music piece and you're narrating the story. In our format, it's literally,
An interruption.
it's an interruption.
Right.
And that has been the issue in the format. So they're not able to process the format. If you want to go for the Oscars or whatever, they're like, okay, the jury itself is sitting there and is trying to sort of make sense of like, because they feel like, okay, I was just in the middle of that scene. Now what happened?
Right. Right, I get that. There is a certain compulsion to Indian formats that is even somewhat annoying to viewers. Like, I mean, it would be the most sincere movie about war, brother. And then there is going to have to be some woman who's waiting for the man. Like, there would have to be this angle of romance where the story culminates, for which you're like, I came for the fighter jets. Right? But there is sort of this compulsion that's come into the tradition. And I don't really care because it's not that big an interruption to me or that big a part of the movie regardless.
No, because we've grown up watching it.
Yeah. It's very
For
native
us,
to
when there's a film without songs, we're like,
Kya ho gaya?
why is there no songs in this film? Like it's, see, that's what I'm saying, that it's what you're used to eating every day.
Right.
You know? And the question is everybody going to eat Indian spicy food, which we all love? The Western palate is not designed for it. Some of them can, but most of them can't. So you have to figure the spices out if you want to get everybody to say, why doesn't everybody in the world eat Indian food? Because I think our cuisine is the best. You know, but because the spice quotient can be very hard for them.
It can be an obstacle that they may not be able to cross.
A lot because that's not the kind of food they're used to eating.
Right.
It doesn't mean our food is not good. It just means that it's so different that if you told them from tomorrow you're going to eat a high spicy diet, Indians can't live without it. And for them, it's like, I don't know how you live with it.
Right. You said you worked with almost all big Nolan productions in the last decade or so. What is so unique, different, special about a man like Christopher Nolan, or for that matter, a Denis Villeneuve, that a lot of the young Indian directors, the next generation of sort of storytellers, visual storytellers can learn from?
So let me give you a blanket statement.
Sure.
Okay. And the blanket statement is there is only one Christopher Nolan in the world. There is nobody like him. He is beyond talent. He's an unprecedented filmmaker, probably the finest filmmaker in a very, very long time that has come. And I'm not sure when the next Christopher Nolan comes. And I don't say that just lightly, because I've worked with all kinds of the most talented film directors in the world. It's not just the fact that I like his movies. It's not that. It's the discipline and the focus and the execution and the way he does it. I've never seen a filmmaker in my entire career execute. I've done now over 1,000 films. So in India, in Hollywood, there isn't another Chris Nolan-like director in Hollywood. There isn't one in India. There isn't one anywhere in the world, according to me, at this point, who's so well clear about his craft, the planning, the execution, the detail, everything works like clockwork. It's unbelievable. You have, like, I can talk about that till the end of time. You know, I'm that inspired by the way and his process and his discipline. It's unique. That's why I say to my company, even though we work a lot with him, I'm like, please don't treat a Chris Nolan film as the rule. That's the exception. He's the only one who's going to be planned. He's never going to go over budget. He's going to be delivering on time. The work will be of the finest quality. You'll be paid fairly. Everything is like just perfect. And that, like I said, is an exception even in Hollywood. He's not the rule.
He's not the rule.
He's not the rule, he's the exception. And that is why it's such a learning opportunity to work with someone like him to understand how he does what he does. And he does it so consistently.
He is a superstar director. I mean, if the name Chris Nolan is associated with a movie, it does not matter what the cast or the plot is. I may not even know it, but there's an automatic curiosity that just starts building in consumers.
That is what I'm saying. That is in addition to the fact that he's such a talented, creative person. See, in the world where we operate, there's a lot of talented, creative filmmakers.
Right.
But there is only one Chris Nolan. What does that mean? It's not like, it's because of the process and the discipline and the planning is, because that goes beyond creativity. What he administers on a film is more than just being a hyper creative person. Because there's a lot of creative people in the world. And they're all really good. But the point is that he's got what's the right word to say? It's like it's a pleasure to work on his film because the way you get treated, the way you get how everything just works. So you're inspired to deliver your best. You're on time. You're not sweating it out. You're not being shouted at. It's a very beautiful way to do what he does. It's and honestly, I'm learning from that. I can't say that I know how he does it. I'd love to be a student I'd love to be a student to his style of filmmaking. He's that good.
I'm sorry if I'm getting a little intrusive. Can you give me an anecdote or something of that nature? I'm trying to understand what these words mean in this context.
So, for example, we've done all the visual effects, some pretty big world building projects, never gone over budget, never gone over a date, come under budget, on time, on spec, and you go and win Oscars.
And that's an exception, huh?
That never happens. It doesn't happen like that. It doesn't happen like that. Because everybody's struggling against time, not enough money. There's always greater ambition than what your pocket can afford. There's always a compromise somewhere. There's always, when you see his work, you're like, what compromise?
Yeah.
I'm sure he must see something that he's not happy with. But to all of us, we just look at his work and like, man, like I'm like, when am I going to see his next film? It's like I'm like with bated breath. I'm waiting to watch it.
Yeah, give him a theme and he'll make it real for me.
It's too good. Like, even though we've had the privilege of having worked on all his films, I told him recently once, I said, Chris, you're the only filmmaker. I don't want to watch a shot in my own studio that you're working on. I've never seen a single shot of his.
Because I'm going to wait.
Because I want to see it in the cinema. I want to see it on the big screen the way he has envisioned it with the music, with the storytelling, with all of it. I don't want to see a shot that, because we see there's a lot of work that's happening in our studios. So you can say, hey, that looks great. Have a look. Something here, something there. I just stare. I said, don't show me. I don't want to see Chris's work. Don't show it to me. Don't talk to me about it. I don't want to listen. I want to just go like a fan, like a student, and go and watch his film. And just first day, first show, only Chris Nolan for me. I've not done that for any director in the world.
So to help me understand, if you've done Interstellar, for instance, and I mean, you've probably designed the black holes, etc. Like, what goes into coming up with an idea like that? How are you being physically accurate and so on and so forth?
No, so that is, again, see, what he does is that he, in order to make it what he calls photoreal, everything has to be symbolized reality. That's the fundamental starting point.
Explain symbolized reality.
So he wants it to be what happens when light goes through the black hole of the wormhole.
Right.
Okay. There is no reference of that.
None.
In the world because there is no such image that exists. So he brings on, very fine Nobel laureate called Kip Thorne, who's got his own gravitational physics. He's got his own formula that he's been writing and developing and thinking about. And then he partners up with the entire R&D team and DNEG. And we work together and compute and calculate what will it do when you apply these formulae and that code, what will happen to that light? What will that image look like? So more than winning the Oscar on Interstellar, one of our greatest achievements on that was that our work was published in scientific white papers, scientific journals as white papers, that for the first time art-led science, because we showed them images that were realistic in their rendition. That is his genius, that he's bringing and takes the time and effort and patience to get that right. Nobody does that. How does it matter?
Right.
But he does it. That's the point. He save none. He does it. He wants that.
There is a scene now, and I know I can credit you and your studio for it, where I think the protagonist enters and then he's part of this matrix. He's seeing all his memories show up. And the interesting part about that is we have crossed the boundary of what we understand as real and what we can physically imagine. Like, you are in a place where no man has ever been, no story has ever come out of there. In fact, light that goes there never comes out. As a matter of fact, light that goes there stops appearing beyond a specific radii, and so it looks like it's a black ball engulfed in light, right? It's such a strange phenomena that we only understand this in mathematics, and we can observe it using telescopes. The magic or the terror of what is inside it, we have no concept of. And I think that is where art is super interesting, because it helps you visualize, touch, have a texture of what reality is. And for me as a consumer, as much as I enjoyed the story of Inception a lot more, or Batman's my favorite superhero, so Dark
Same
Knights,
here.
like that kind of stuff. But Interstellar helped me imagine the world I live in a completely different light. And it blew the doors of my mind open. And so thank you for that. And if you ever meet Chris, tell him we in India say thank you to him, man.
He knows that. He loves India, by the way.
He's aware of it.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
box office numbers are aware
No,
of
he
it.
knows that. And he loves India. In fact, I don't know if you know, but he's shot Tenet in India. He shot Dark Knight Rises. There's a scene when Batman comes out of the prison.
Well, yes.
Just for that 2-day shoot, he came to Jaipur and shot.
Right. I am aware of that, yes.
So he loves India, and whenever we meet, he does talk very fondly about India, and he knows that he's got a big fan base. I'm already leading that charge for him, so he knows that he's got a big fan base behind
What
us.
about Dennis? How's Dennis to
So
work with?
he on the other hand is almost like a very similar but very different and unique, very original artist of a different kind. Like the first time the first Dune came out, I don't know if you know, but Chris Nolan wrote a statement that says is the best use of practical photography and computer generated images ever done before. That is Chris Nolan's comment for Denis' work on Dune. As I was telling you about
Yeah, right.
how artists over there, how they actually encourage and respect each other. So Denis is that fine level of imaginative artist, director, visionary, to say it in the simplest form, who's able to turn these absolutely, like these worlds and bring them to a place of touch and feel that is so unique, but still feels so real. Like every image you look at is not real. But Denis' style makes it feel real. Like it takes you there. Chris's images are always real.
Right.
Like he's creating the most unreal and making it real. But it's not fantastical. Denis' imagination is fantastical. It's the world 9,000 years into the future.
Right.
Dune, like when you think about the world he's creating. But the way he's crafting those images and those shots and the world he's designing is just picture postcard perfect. Like he just knows how to do that. That blend of that artistic, like it's almost as if he's a painter himself. Like he's painting on that image and he's saying that's what it should look like. And that is a very unique skill set again, because the fear in our business is sometimes if you go off by even one point, the image can break very quickly. Like the
Magic is lost.
magic is lost because it looks, that's a cool shot.
Right.
But it doesn't feel real now.
You don't feel like you're part
You
of it.
don't feel like, you just like, that was a good showreel shot. It's not, you don't feel it.
Got
You
it.
just see it.
Got it.
That's where I think Denis is brilliant. Like he's been able to showcase those stories and those worlds like nobody else. It's beautiful.
Did you also work on Ex Machina?
Yes.
Right? And I wonder, designing black holes, working on Ex Machina, and I'm sure at this point there's a large part of what you do that involves artificial intelligence, the history of your work involves computer generated images and so on. Do you ever sit at night drinking your evening tea wondering, bro, what the hell? Like, where is this world? Like, it's a lot of futurism you're dealing with. It's a lot of science fiction you're dealing with. It's a lot of world building you're dealing with. Does that invite personal thoughts about where are we going? Do you ever wonder that? How's that changing the landscape of our reality?
See, the thing is that, for us, or for me personally, the journey that I've been on, what we're doing actually is almost, to hate to break it down and make it feel less interesting, is almost like, it's like bread and butter for us. We almost start most meetings with saying, let's do something that's not been done before. Like, what are we going to do this time?
Right.
So we are kind of coming to the drawing board saying, okay, they've done that. What are we going to do next? So that's almost your job right now every day, to think about what comes next. And that is the challenge, that's the opportunity, that's the fun. So it's not being nostalgic about what you've done, because I've not had that privilege yet to sit back and look at my work.
Yeah, you're still running right
You're
now.
still, really running, climbing,
Yes.
leaping.
Right.
We're trying to do many different things. So that's the part that one is trying to, sort of draw inspiration from that. Okay, how are we going to do the next step? How are we going to do this now? That's the next challenge that a Denis or a Nolan or our top creative filmmaker in the world is going to come in and throw in front of us. And that sort of is what is the exciting part of my job. But I'm sure in a few years when I'm older and grayer, I guess I'll probably sit back with that cup of tea and think about your question in terms of...
No, I don't even mean as like reflecting on your own work, but more so as to the trajectory of the world. You see, it's an interesting perspective. I can ask a professor, what do you think where the world is going? I can ask a politician.
Okay.
Very rarely do you deal with artists who deal in futurism, who deal in imagining what the world will look like in the future. Now, Ex Machina is very unique because you see this AI branch of things and the way it is progressing. There is some probability percentage that the world looks like Ex Machina, where there is a sentient robot. There is a percentage possibility that it looks like Interstellar, where we've managed to do spacefaring to this extent. And Dune is very interesting in this way because I quote this very often. Dune is set in a universe where they tried computers, realized this is not for us, switched them off and went back to pen and paper, right? And so that takes the information technology progress to its far extreme and then says no. And so you're dealing with all these aspects as an artist, as a creative of the future. And do you ever wonder about the future? What is the world your kids will inherit and their kids will inherit?
As in, I personally get excited by tech in general. So I don't fear it. I actually generally embrace it, having grown at that cross-section of when analog went to digital. I always say to my kids that my generation was probably the last one that saw everything that was in analog and then saw the digital sort of happen right there.
Right.
And all of those transitions we did with a lot of enthusiasm because we were like, okay, this is going to make it better. It's going to make it more seamless. It's going to make it... And while there's a part of me that still craves the nostalgia of analog, but I still generally believe that there is a certain progression that is happening that ultimately we will find ways around it. Because I genuinely believe as an optimist that it's our own creation. No, we will do something to better it.
Right.
The world has been fraught with conflict and wars in our entire history of human civilization as we know it. So some of these things are going to continue, but ultimately there is no end to any of this. It's the next phase, the next war, the next weapon, the next, invention that happens will again bring a new set of challenges, complexities, problems that you will solve. So I'm not troubled by it because I just feel like that is evolution. It's like it's evolution of humanity, and I think that I'm not troubled by it.
You're not troubled by that at all.
Not troubled by
What is your biggest fear, if I may ask?
See, fears, we all have many. I...
Put you in the spot. You're thinking.
Yeah, because, the fear is of... the fear of not knowing what to do, to me, is a big fear.
Explain.
That if you get to a place in your life where you feel like, I don't know what to do next, I'm lost. Like, right now when I'm doing something, if I'm making the Ramayana, I'm building my company, I'm going to the West, I'm trying to take on these challenges, I'm trying to fulfill it, I'm trying to do something for my kids or my family. I have purpose, I have direction, while there may be challenges in achieving that, there may be complexities in doing or succeeding on that, that is all par for course because I know where I want to go. And I know what I'm doing is not necessarily easy or done before or whatever, but I know what I want to do. The fear for me is you wake up one fine day and you're like, you're just irrelevant. You just are clueless about what you're going to do next. And that withering away, just, like being irrelevant, withering away is probably my greatest fear.
Interesting. Thank you for being honest. I appreciate that. What is it like in view of something like that? Because, you speak of irrelevance big. In view of that, what is it like winning an Academy Award? Because that's somewhat kind of the antidote to irrelevance, right? Like you're part of history in some way. It's probably the biggest award you can get in cinema.
Again, I don't want to be a downer. It's like I spoke to you about money, and I'll say the same thing about an Academy Award. And I'm not saying it because I earned money or we won a lot of Academy Awards. But the thing is that these are all validations of your effort.
Right.
The year that we got the award for Dune, we also worked on James Bond. For the first time in 40 years, James Bond was nominated for an Academy Award. We were nominated for that as well.
This is Spectre.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I think No Time to Die.
Oh, No Time to Die.
Okay. So, in 40 years, James Bond was nominated for an Academy Award, and we made that happen. We were the lead company that did that. So, to me, was No Time to Die and Dune and 3 others who were there, and the coin toss could have been won by anybody. All the people that did those jobs were pretty at the edge, at the top end of their game. Had we not got the Oscar, did that make us any less relevant? So I don't want to ever look at myself in the measure of an award or money, because that to me is every year there's an Oscar award.
Right.
Every year there is somebody who becomes the richest person in the world.
Right.
What's the point? Like, to me, it's great that you're playing at the top end of the game. You're striving for excellence. You're doing your best. That is critical. But if I just measured my life if I didn't win any Oscars, would I have been a lesser person today? Maybe in your eyes, maybe in the world's eyes, not in my eyes. Because I'm still the same kid in a garage with an Apple computer, building his journey and trying to do what he can.
Right.
I'm still aspirational. I'm still making Ramayana with the same aspiration I started my company at 18. So I am only driven by my aspiration. What am I going to do next? Now, we make the biggest hit in the world. Thank you so much. And if it's not, I still tried. There's nothing I can do beyond that. So in my head, what is most important is, what am I doing? And if I'm doing the best I can, and I'm pushing myself to the edge, and I'm trying to live by that ideal, now whether I make a lot of money, less money, get the award, don't get the award, I can't control it. Why do I care?
Interesting. It's very important, you saying that as what I'm hearing is I don't define my measure of success with the awards and the money I make. And in some sense, it can only come from somebody who's had it, because if somebody who's not had it says it, people will not believe it, and probably they themselves will not believe it. But it's very important the way you phrase this, as artists should be inspired by what is pure and spiritual about their art, and not so much about the awards and the recognition.
So I'll make one more disclosure, because as a kid, my grandfather won a lot of awards. Okay, and he was one of the most celebrated cinematographers of his time. As a kid, I used to see a lot of awards in our living room, from the National Award to all the classics that he shot back in the day. And I was a kid in school, mediocre in class, pretty chubby, so wasn't necessarily the best at sports. So I was not winning awards or medals or any of that. So I was very aspirational to win a lot of awards. Now, that was something that I felt, that recognition, that walk down the
red carpet, or
when you get the clapping and you get everybody's celebration, it's a great moment. I'm not denying that. But it's not because we got a lot of them. Because I've had more award wins than, while the Oscars are now the front and center of it. But for 20 years before that, our company won awards in India. On every major award we won multiple times, constantly. So you realize that we're doing good work. That's why we're getting the awards. And when you win the awards, you realize the joy is in doing great work.
Yeah.
The piece of metal actually fades very quickly.
Right.
So I'm not trying to bring down the value of the award, because that's what drives a lot of us.
Right.
It drove me also at a certain point. But now what I've realized is that driving excellence and maintaining it, because what you don't want is the award to make you arrogant.
Right.
Oh, we've got so many Oscars, we are the best.
And then you relax.
You're not the best.
Right.
That's wrong. Did you do your best this time? Each time, are you the best? Just because I've won the Cricket World Cup 1 year, does that mean we're the best cricket team in the world? Because the next match itself, you lost. So, that is the reality of where we all sit in our own life, in the real world. That award is great for that moment, that day, that project. It came together. Yeah, we did great work. And thank God we won the award. But the challenge is not that. The challenge is, how do you keep driving a line of excellence? Because that is hard for anybody. It's hard for the best in the world to keep doing their best work every day.
Yeah.
That level of performance pressure is huge. So to me, what I want to tell people or my kids or the next generation is, you got to enjoy not having to deliver the best, but being the best. You have to enjoy that journey. You have to enjoy. That is because then if it becomes fun, then it's not even a job anymore. That's why people say you got to love what you do, because the moment you're good at it, that failure will be staring at you every day on your face, and you're going to have to deal with it and come out smiling and winning.
Yeah. One of the most important traits in an entrepreneur's life is the ability to have a great attitude regardless of circumstance. Something I heard from somebody. It's a very, like, you just have to smile at the risk of failure, even at the possibility of it or the manifestation of it, and you've got to keep going, and you've got to keep finding a way for your internal self to find you better the next day and the next day. Yeah, what are you looking forward to now that filming is done for part 1?
No, the real job starts now. To be honest, it's getting this this absolute, opportunity that I have in really bringing our greatest story, our greatest culture to the world. We got to really bring it to that level of finish and bring it to its core, which is, to me, the biggest part of the job. And then making sure that we can find distribution and marketing and a way to present it to the world, which has, again, never been done before. So there's those two aspects of actually now making it and then finding a way to make sure the world can see it are the two biggest, the most critical steps in this entire journey. But that's, again, what gets me excited, because I'm like, that's one of it sits in the company that I own, and the other is the path of discovery and breaking new ground, because there is no international film that's ever been shown at this global scale to the world at the same time. It's never happened in 100 years. So that's where I believe that's the next big challenge, is to make sure that we can not just find the audience, but also find a way to show it to the audiences worldwide.
But there has to be a worldwide release in many languages, no?
Many languages. So I have to try and make that happen, which I again feel
It's a very good challenge to have.
cautiously optimistic. Like I said, see, I say to everybody, let's fail trying to win. Na?
Yeah, right. As opposed to sitting
Let's
it out.
die on the battlefield. Now, what's the big deal? Yeah?
Right.
Go down fighting. What's the problem? I tried to do the best I could. It didn't happen. Okay, but that didn't change my approach. If I don't do it, somebody else will do it. See, we all have to build aspiration and opportunity. My father did, my grandfather did something, my father did something, I am doing something else. Hopefully my kids do the next thing. And it's not my kids, it could be any kid in the world. Ultimately, all of us are providing data to each other. If I can do it, you can do it.
Sure.
If I'm an 18-year-old who doesn't know much, can build this company and do that, so can you. That's the whole reason why there's such a proliferation of our startup culture, and our next generation is so confident and so strong, because they're like, yeah, we've seen it. We're not. I don't think the kids of India today think about, we were ruled by the British for so many years. What? What does that mean?
Yeah.
There's no sense of slavery, or there's no sense of that history, or how we were treated.
Submission or none of that.
And that is so good.
Yeah.
And that you can only see in the next generation.
Right. Right. No, aspiration is infectious.
And that is the point I'm trying to make, that let's all push the line and get to a place. If I don't do it, somebody else will do it. As long as we get to win at the end of the day, that's what matters.
Right. So 2026 Diwali, that's
Yes.
the release of the first part.
Yeah.
Are you at liberty to say what part of the entire story the first part will cover and what part will be the second part, or no?
Not yet.
Okay, we'll keep that a secret.
Let's keep that. There's a lot of stuff to come in trailers and in future communication. So we'll try.
Sure.
And keep
Yeah,
that.
no problem. I feel like it's also best for the audiences to be like, shit, this ended right here. Like, that kind of feeling is actually very enjoyable. The magic of cinema with spoilers or having some things here and there leaking, it's not as fun. So yeah, we'll maintain that integrity for them. Is there a question you have for me?
Spoken a fair bit. So I really enjoy your curiosity, the way you ask questions, the way you engage, and the kind of interest you show. So what is it that you're trying to, like when you talk to, because you have an audience, you have a lot of people who are watching what you do. So what is it that you feel you want to deliver as the most vital message to your audience? Like what's that thing for you that you believe is really that makes a particular podcast tick or not?
So I'm assuming you're asking about what is primarily the messaging I want with my audience. Is that the question you're asking?
Yeah, as in what do you feel is like you come out and say, that was a great conversation because you feel like you've done well for your followers, like who are watching it. Like what is it that you're hoping to deliver to your audience? Yeah.
So there's a few sort of internal principles I follow. If I enjoy it, anybody who watches it will enjoy it. Your internal state gets mirrored by the people who are watching, right? And so there's one that. Two, generally it's a matter of me and the guest lining up on what people colloquially call vibes. But basically it's grammar. Like if you understand what I'm saying in one go and I don't have to repeat and explain myself and vice versa, then we'll probably have a great conversation regardless. Sure. Number three, as far as what should be the messaging of what I do, last year I took out the time to have that messaging be how are you related to your family and how are you grounded in your reality. And I defined it by asking questions, some of which I asked you, some of which I did not. For instance, I generally ask people what their relationships with their father is like, particularly men, because it's generally a strained relationship historically. And I'll ask them what their biggest fear or what their definition of success is. You've given me your idea of success, so I asked you only the latter half. And what that does, only those two poles, is helps the million people who'll watch this look at somebody who's done brilliant work like yourself and be like, wait, his fears and his definition of success is a variation of my fear and my definition. It's not that different. And so not only does it help the guest say, this is who I am, I didn't think of this before, the audience is like, wow, I can be that guy. And so those were the two poles I was trying to attack. Now I am in a very privileged position. I think part of it is genuinely the blessings of my grandparents. Now I have a huge audience and now I am ready to install messaging. And because I've had exposure in the West, because India is at this beautiful, opportune crescendo moment where we are building fast, we are being heard, we can produce global tier products in every sense of the word. I feel like I want to find a way to take the Indian point of view to global discourse. And what I mean by that is, like, if you listen to the strongest voice in the world in media, that's Joe Rogan. Joe's great, but he's America first. And if you think of internet as a geography, not as necessarily a technology, the largest number of people on the internet are Indians. We are 40% of the free internet mass. The largest export that India produces that nobody recognizes is content. Can we find a way to create power in that? Can we find a way to create soft power in stories, conversations, ideas that go from India to the world? Which is why I loved a lot of what I saw, because I'm finding out inadvertently that you've been doing this for the last 30 years of your career, which is why I really enjoyed this conversation. And I appreciate hearing what it would sound like 30 years later for myself as well, or 25 years later for myself as well. That's what I'm trying to do. Now that I've found a way to speak to a large number of people, I want to find a way to take Indianness global, if that makes sense. Sure. Maybe it's too naive.
No, it's not naive at all. In fact, see, I'm glad to hear that you've got good, strong, clear perspective on it, and you've got a mission. Like I said, the fear is not in what should I do, will I succeed. It's in I don't know what to do.
Right.
And there's a lot of people you'll meet in your life who will ask you the question, I don't know what to do.
I've been that guy. I know what to do.
That fear is the point at which you're just like, where am I? What do I do? Nothing is better than a man on a mission. Like I said, you die in the battlefield, that's fine. Like, you're going to go and discover something more about yourself.
Right.
It's when you don't know where I want to go.
Right.
That's the biggest fear of any person, I think. And so when you're speaking, I'm like, okay, I think he knows where he wants to go. He's driving the conversation in that manner, in a constructive, proactive manner. It's not. So you're helping build on that in a structured messaging way so that people can
absorb that,
digest it, and say, okay, if I follow this train of thought, I can get more than just a logical flow. It's not like, you just heard a very smart person talk.
Right.
Because a lot of times you don't understand smart people.
Right.
So you have to build that EQ versus IQ balance. You try and build that balance in that conversation so that, because the average world is simple. They want easy stuff. Like, don't complicate it for me.
Right. The data is very telling on that kind of stuff.
Don't,
Any amount of
don't give
complication.
me hyper complex words, and don't try and suddenly be so cerebral that I'm like, it's bouncer boss. I didn't understand half of what you said. It just sounds very smart.
Right.
I guess
it
not
doesn't
for
work.
me.
Yes, right. Media has a way in which it humbles all of that, right?
So you need to have that connect, emotional, interpersonal, because that's what ultimately all humanity is looking for. That is, how do we connect? How do we enable? How do we collaborate? How do we create? That's the part. So I think anybody who's creating that experience, whether you're creating a point of view, whether you're creating, a thought for someone else to be like, I heard that podcast, I listened to him, and I learned something, I feel inspired. That's a big positive trigger there.
Yeah, appreciate that.
I think.
And yeah, I mean, I appreciate that. Thank you so much for those notes as well. I want to actually say this on record. Congratulations on your ambition. Congratulations on your achievements, and congratulations on the project you're setting out to do. I am pretty sure you're aware of the pressure that rides behind it, not monetarily, but as far as the aspiration of 1.5 billion people go, and maybe even more. From the looks of it, it looks very promising. I think it'll deliver more than what it promises, and that's always a great place to be. And if there is anything we can do in me, my colleagues, anybody I know that I can help with, in bringing this story to the world, man, I'm happy to do that. Thank you so much for taking on this very ambitious project on behalf of all of us. I
Thank
appreciate
you. No, I love that. Thank you. That's the good energy that we all can do more with.
Thank you, man.
Thanks.